And with Crystal Palace a complete sellout, the crowd thrilled to what became an epic contest. Steve Ovett right at the outside showed signs of the old power last week in Italy when he got that world 1500 metres record back. He's very, very strong indeed at the moment. As Rob Harrison, number 15, I think you might see him in front on these first two laps. They're a bit unsteady. Eddie Stevens, the Belgian, was rocking about. And in fact, Harrison is having a job to get through to the front. And Steve Cram and Ovett right at the back. In fact, they've settled down, three from back. It's Ovett, third from back, and Cram following him. And the head waiter in this game, Gordon Weigwa, has gone through, and they're left at the tail end. Brendan Foster, they're just looking for each other.
Well, they're miles away from the pace, and Ovett was waiting to let Cram through because he's obviously decided he's going to track Steve Cram, and as soon as Steve Cram went ahead of him, Ovett followed. So now the race is on, and it's Cram ahead of Ovett, and Ovett tracking him. He's got him in his sight. He's obviously decided he's going to follow him every inch of the way, and the pacemakers are miles ahead. They're absolutely wasting their time out there, because I would think the race is going on back in the pack. But if the pacemakers are good enough, they could continue. I mean, it's one of those races where everything seems to have gone wrong pacemaking-wise, as we've seen again.
Well, the time for the first lap, just over 55 seconds for the leaders. I would think the chasing group are 57 seconds plus. So that's outside a world record schedule. But the man in second place is dangerous. Have no illusions about that. That is Pierre Delis, the Swiss record holder, who's done 3:33 recently, and they can't afford to let him get too far. Actually, Weigwa in third place. It was timed at just inside 59 seconds. Harrison leads. Delis in second place. There's Weigwa being overtaken by number 3, Jack Buckner. Steve Cram at Weigwa's shoulder. And this is a tactical battle now between Cram and Ovett, but they mustn't forget that Swiss. Harrison's pacemaking is right on target, but they've not gone with the pace at all. Bill Harrison leading. Delis in second place. In third place, Buckner. Fourth is Weigwa. In fifth place, Cram. Sixth is Ovett. And seventh place, Kurek of Poland. And this is a real battle between the two of them. There'll be no quarter given at all.
But they're closing now on the leading group, and obviously the pacemaker, Rob Harrison, who's done a good job. He's tiring now. I noticed Cram glance over his shoulder, and then they're now 700 metres from the finish. In the next 300 metres, they're going into the last lap, and then it'll be all to do.
In fact, the pace there, way outside world record schedule. The third man through there was through in 1:58 plus. That's Buckner leading, Cram in second place, and Ovett stalking Cram all the time. Delis in fourth place. And these four slightly clear of Weigwa and Kurek of Poland, followed by Mike Boyd of Kenya. Buckner now really pressing hard in front, and Cram has been bold enough to take Ovett on from the front. These are the moments when self-doubt creeps in. He's really got to attack now because he's there to be shot at. Ovett sitting and waiting, and no one does it better. 2:58 at the bell, the time unimportant. The battle for supremacy is now really on. And the bold, front-running Cram has made the break, but hasn't broken Ovett. Ovett in the perfect position. Cram with an elegant stride, and then the control power of Steve Ovett in second place. Menacing Cram all the time, and Cram trying to run the finish out of the world 1500 metre record holder. Ovett showing signs of pain, but Cram hasn't got away. What has Ovett got left? Cram tries to kick again. The gap opens. It's 2 yards. Can Ovett close it? Here he comes on the near side in the perfect position to attack. Cram is still holding that yard, and it's Cram going away again. But Ovett closes once more. But Steve Cram, the champion of the world, proves himself the champion of the world to beat Steve Ovett with Wilson Weigwa third, Delis in fourth place, Buckner 5. What a race that was! 3:52.56. But no one will remember this race for the time. They'll remember it for an epic battle on the last lap. And the boy who's champion of the world, champion of Europe, champion of the Commonwealth, totally unafraid. He ran the race from the front with the boldest possible manner, and he beats Steve Ovett fairly and squarely. Brendan Foster.
Well, what a confrontation. To my mind, there were two heroes in that race. Steve Cram and Steve Ovett, but Steve Cram took him on. They both should acknowledge the crowd because they both deserve it. But Cram, the world champion, attacked as he should have done on the last 350 metres, and he stretched at 300 metres, he stretched at 200 metres, and then Ovett waited to attack. And when he came off the bend, they were both hurting. And I know that Steve Cram feels that Steve Ovett, if he is vulnerable, he's vulnerable in the last 50 metres. And when it came to it, that race was won in the last 20 metres. It was the man who was the toughest, and tonight it was Steve Cram.
Steve Ovett battled all the way, did absolutely nothing wrong. The clock was unimportant to these two. The prestige was all that mattered. But Steve Cram, 22 years old, no inhibitions whatsoever. He went where the bravest only go, from the front. And he proved the point that he's always believed that you can run the finish out of Steve Ovett. And at this point, Ovett was poised to attack, but in fact couldn't quicken. He was lengthening then, he almost got to Cram once there, but then the Geordie boy from Jarrow went away again and had about 2 metres to spare at the finish. And watch the dive of despair from the world record holder as he bows to the champion of the world. Well, what a record this boy's got. Right on top of the world. And ever since he's been a junior, he's shown outstanding promise. And listen to this crowd.
Well, I've got to say, gentlemen, that was a fitting climax to a marvellous athletic season. It was a sort of race where there were no losers. I know there was a winner, Steve, but really there were no losers tonight.
Oh, it was a great race. I mean, as I was saying to Steve just a minute ago, it's nice to run hard all the way and finish, you know, absolutely knackered or absolutely very tired. But it's nice to run in front of a crowd like this. It was really thrilling for both of us. I think we really enjoyed it.
I must say, you both looked as though you were on your beam end.
I think so. I think we were both, legs had gone a little bit and we were leaning for the line. But
I was dipping at 200 metres.
As Steve says, that's how it should be. A good hard race between two competitors and forget about world records and things like that. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, the press built it up as the clash of the year, but really you've both had long seasons. Yeah. I really felt that it was the one that the crowd were looking for because the time became relatively unimportant, didn't it?
That's right. I think we both had sort of, well, Steve's had a very successful season. I've had sort of an up and down one, but I got the world record back last week, so I was very pleased with that, and it was a tough race. And I think we both sort of were hoping for easy races tonight, I think, but the way it turned out, I think really we can't complain, because if we'd have had easy races and won, I think the crowd would have been disappointed that we didn't get together. But we got together and it was a great race, and as you say, I finished second, but I felt as if I'd done my best, and that was all you can really give on a night like tonight, really.
No doubt about that. It was historic. When did you sort of decide to disregard any pacemaking? Fairly early on?
About after the first step.
Or even before?
Well, I wanted to see whether Steve was going to go with the pace, so I waited behind him for the first 100 metres or so. And Steve looked round, had a look at me, and we almost ended up jogging for a little while, and I then decided to start running, but there was no question of going with the pace, I don't think.
Marvellous series of races, marvellous world record. Couldn't have better stimulation to go away and do a good hard winter, come back and entertain us again right royally. Marvellous, the pair of you.
Thanks very much.